This is Price Check. Best DFS plays in each price range for Week 9.
So, Pierce, need a QB over $7,000. Who's it going to be?
It's got to be Aaron Rodgers this week against Kansas City. They're bad at everything. We saw on Monday night, they allowed 222 yards to Daniel Jones, 2 touchdowns. Last time I checked, Aaron Rodgers, a little bit better than Daniel Jones, has a couple more healthy receivers, hopefully, than Daniel Jones had last night. Rodgers, since week 1, 7-0, 17 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's got a 105 quarterback rating. That's with a 33 hanging it down. This game has a healthy 55 over-under. Hopefully, Kansas City's offense can get it together. We can get some back-and-forth action. Even if there isn't, Rodgers should have a really solid floor against this really bad Kansas City team.
All right, we need a quarterback who's over $7,000, Reid.
Yeah, I had a feeling that one of these guys was going to go with Aaron Rodgers, so I'll go with Josh Allen. At the very top, $8,200. I mean, he gets Emerson's Jacksonville. And you know what? I was stupid last week. I went with Jacksonville over Seattle. What happened? Nothing great. Nothing great. Look, Allen had a bad first half last week and still finished as a QB4. Urban Meyer against Sean McDermott, guys, and Brian Dowell is like Ohio State at homecoming. There is no chance that this coaching staff going up against this Buffalo Bills team and Josh Allen are going to beat them. It doesn't matter if it's at home. It really doesn't. Allen has as good of a chance as a guy like Aaron Rodgers with 3.5x his price tag. And at that 8,000 and above, some people might be scared of him.
All right, Steve, who are you going with?
Yeah, I'm going to go right back where Pierce was, talking about Aaron Rodgers going against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you look at what he did against the Washington football team, a very bad secondary, nonetheless. 24.7 DraftKings fantasy points, over 250 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in that one. And then he was able to take down the Cardinals without Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard. So now, presumably, he's going to get those guys back this week. Then he's going to be in an even better spot. He had under 200 passing yards in that game last week, but it didn't matter. He still puts up the fantasy points now that he has his reinforcements back. Come on. You're not going to take Aaron Rodgers in this spot. It's pricey, but that's going to be the guy to play this week.
It is an interesting week in our house. A house divided with Meg Muffin's Bills visiting America's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I ordered a new shirt off of Amazon yesterday, ready to go. We're going to have a good time.
Exciting.
Reid, help the people at home watching have a good time when it comes to a running back under $6,000. There's a lot north of $6,000, but take us to under.
Right. I want to do a little extra credit here. I like Aaron Jones above 7. That's why I didn't want to go with Aaron Rodgers, because like the Kansas City Chiefs are terrible. But I'm actually going to a player who played against Kansas City last night. And look, Elijah Mitchell is going to be popular, so I might pivot to DeVontae Booker here against the Vegas Raiders at 5,900. Like if Barkley's still out, and it looks like they might hold him out until after the bye, he just seems like a guy who's going to get all of the touches. Like they're coming off a short week. Vegas is coming off their bye, right? So it's presumably going to be advantage Las Vegas. But this guy saw his most production last night, and he's someone that got worked in the passing game. If that's going to continue and Danny Dimes is going to just check down Charlie, oh, that's a lot of nicknames, for this week moving forward, then yeah, I like it. It's, the Vegas Raiders, they're still suspect against the run, 26.4 DK fantasy points on average per game to opposing backfield. So yeah, I like DeVontae Booker at 59.
Yeah, that's right. Week 10 bye would make sense for them probably to just keep Barkley out for the next couple of weeks there.
Sure.
Okay, Steven, give me a running back under $6,000.
Yeah, Boston Scott is 5,200 this week going up against one of the worst run defenses in the league in the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, you're going to look at the game log and see that Gainwell did outcarry both Scott and Howard, but Gainwell got all of those carries in garbage time in the fourth quarter. Boston Scott looks like he's the man that's going to be taking the RB1 duties while Miles Sanders is out. He rushed the ball 12 times for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Last week, it was an all-run game for the Eagles. Last week, we could see a lot more of that this week against the Chargers, who cannot stop the run at all. So 5,200 for somebody who presumptively is the RB1 in this offense right now. You just can't pass that up. So give me Boston Scott.
All right, Pierce, what you want?
Steve and I are going to butt heads. I'm going to go with Jordan Howard here. We're in the right
that's awful.
The Chargers defense is terrible. The Chargers have allowed, 9 rushing touchdowns to just 1 receiving touchdown. So I'm going to go with the guy that's going to trouble Steve, and it's Jordan Howard in the red zone. The volume's going to go to Boston Scott. He's the better running back. He's going to run more routes. He's going to get more targets. But when they get to the red zone, 7 touches last week for a guy who was activated on Saturday. He got 3 rushes inside the 5-yard line. Also, Philly's offensive line, very underrated, 5 yards per carry. That's third best in football. When it comes to running back rushing yards, they have the sixth best yards per carry. So it's a good rush attack here, and I can't fault you for going with Boston Scott, but the touchdowns are going to Howard.
All right, Steve, let's talk about a wide receiver who's over $6,000. Who do you like in this spot?
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb. It obviously doesn't matter who is under center for the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb's going to continue to produce with Cooper Rush last week. 6 receptions for 112 yards, and that came out to 20.2 DraftKings fantasy points. Now he's going up against probably the most fraudulent team in the NFL in the Denver Broncos. Got out to that hot start. Now they're already waving the white flag, getting rid of Von Miller. Their season is over, even though they're still very much in the mix over in the AFC West. But nonetheless, I mean, this secondary, this whole team had us fooled through the first 3 weeks of the season. They've shown their true colors now. CeeDee Lamb has just been an absolute monster in that loaded Cowboys offense. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed over there, but CeeDee Lamb is getting those deep shots. He's getting in the end zone, and at this price point, you should be able to carve up this Broncos secondary.
Yeah, 7,200 coming off his third triple-digit receiving game this season.
Damn.
Pretty nice. Okay. All right, Pearce, a wide receiver over $6,000.
Brandin Cooks, 6,100. Maybe we get Tyrod Taylor back. Great deep passer, deep threat in Brandin Cooks. If not really that big of a deal. Dolphins secondary is banged up. They're not healthy. Byron Jones, Xavier Howard are not looking good. They're not developing like people expected them to. It's probably because they don't practice every single week. They're questionable every single week. They have the 26th pass DVOA. They've allowed the second most points to wide receivers. And they've also allowed the most plus 20-yard passes. Last time I checked, Brandin Cooks is sort of a deep threat. So give me Brandin Cooks at just over the 6,000 mark.
All right, Reid, who do you like? You staying closer to that 6,000 mark, or are you paying up?
I'm paying up, but I just love when Steve yells in the studio. It like reverberates through my headphones. It's fantastic. I love it. You just get excited, man. I appreciate it. Steph Diggs, 7,700. Steve looks confused.
I don't know if that was a compliment
going
or like
back to the Eagles thing. Look, you can make a case for Gainwell, Boston Scott, and Jordan Howard. So that sort of leads me to stay away from that spot. But Steph Diggs at 7,700 against Jacksonville. Talk about a fraudulent team. Well, maybe not fraudulent because we know that they're bad. I like to stack them with Josh Allen. It's gonna cost you close to $16,000 already for this matchup in this tandem. But look, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf accounted for 18 of Geno Smith's 20 attempts completions last week. I get that there's other guys in this Bills offense like an Emmanuel Sanders. We'll get to him a little bit, and a Cole Beasley. But Steph Diggs hasn't had that big game yet. Jalen Waddle, 10 for 70 for 2 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd, 9 for 118. AJ Green and Christian Kirk, both at 100 receiving yards against his secondary. Steph Diggs is going to have a huge game, probably his best of the season all year.
Pierce, favorite value play right now on the Week 9 slate on DraftKings?
Tyler Conklin at $3,000. We're always looking to punt at tight end, and the tight end position doesn't look good this week, just about like every single week. Conklin gives you a pretty solid floor with about 4 catches, 40 yards per game. He also fits into the category of chasing that touchdown. He's facing Baltimore, the team to target with tight ends. They allowed more fantasy points to tight ends to anyone else in the league. So if you're punting away, going cheap at $3,000, Conklin's going to be the tight end to take.
Sweet T. Fowler.
Yeah, it's actually receivers in this $5,000 range. I think Jerry Jeudy is still at $5,000. Buy low on him because he's still getting worked up. Manny Sanders is at $5,600. I think he's definitely in play. But Jerry Jeudy is the guy that I'm looking at. I mean, Steve mentioned CeeDee Lamb on the other side. But I just think that Jerry Jeudy at this price tag and what we saw in that first game, he still has that. He's getting back into the swing of things. Last week wasn't really it. But like Steve mentioned, these guys are still in it. And I think Jerry Jeudy is still underpriced for what he can do in an entire game being entirely healthy.
Bukes, talk to me.
I'm going to try to whisper now. I don't want to hurt Reid's ears. He's got those nice
Appreciate
AirPods in. But Miko, if I told you there was a receiver who is under 4K and is averaging over 7 targets over the last 4 games, you'd probably be like, sign me up, baby. That's what Miko Hardman is right now. 7.1 targets over the last 4 games. He's been getting a lot of looks from Patrick Mahomes, who continuously is throwing the ball. sometimes to the wrong team more often than not at this rate. But, I mean, for a game that we think the Packers are going to do well in, if that's the game script, then maybe the Chiefs are playing catch-up. And if that means that Mahomes has to continue to throw the ball, Hardman has been getting a lot of looks lately. Only $3,900. The salary has not caught up to him as of yet. So I think at $3,900, he's one of the best value plays on the board as of Tuesday afternoon.